I know a dude who killed a guy with a choke.
In the ring?
No, killed him in a gym. He was banging this guy's wife.
Oh, he really went for him.
Yeah, it was crazy. He was banging the guy's wife, and he invited the guy to his school, and then choked him to death and killed him, and then was driving the guy's car around town.
If you were a regular viewer of Joe Rogan's podcast at any point, you've probably heard him tell this story before. He knew a guy that was a fake jiu-jitsu black belt that then turned out to be a murderer. He never quite gives the specific details regarding the story, and to be honest with you, I kind of forgot all about it myself until I was reminded about it through one of the comments on one of my previous videos. So I decided to look into it, and that is what today's video is gonna be all about. So let's get into it. In the late 90s and early 2000s, MMA was in the dark ages. It was banned in most parts of the United States due to a movement led by John McCain, who famously dubbed it human cockfighting. It wasn't exactly easy to be a fan, as the information and footage relating to the sport was scattered all over the dark corners of the internet, and the few early MMA reporters and writers found it relatively easy to gain traction within the underground community due to the practically non-existent competition and mainstream interest. One such reporter was Rafiel Torre. Rafiel was well liked both in person and online. He claimed to be a former Navy SEAL with a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu earned by training under his Brazilian father, and a 14-0 MMA record accrued in small-time shows. Due to how close-knit the MMA and the grappling communities were at the time, his stories caught the attention of Sheikh Tahnoun bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the creator of the Abu Dhabi Combat Club, otherwise known as ADCC, and widely considered to be the most prestigious competition in submission grappling. He got invited to the tournament as an opponent for Bo Hirschberger. Despite all the hype surrounding his past, Torre got submitted in less than a minute. This loss went under the radar, however, and he was still able to retain his status within the community. He was subsequently invited to roll with Eddie Bravo, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and the founder of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, as well as a close personal friend of Joe Rogan.
And Eddie rolled with him, and I remember him coming back to me, and he's like, that guy's not a black belt. And I go, well, you sure? And he goes, dude, he don't know anything. Like, it was too crazy. It was like, it was like a white belt.
You can get killed doing shit like that.
I thought maybe he was doing it because maybe he was just being nice and wasn't going hard. And he goes, but then as time goes on, I was like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And so then he calls him up, and he was like, hey, are you a fucking black belt? Like, tell me the guy's like, well, you know, I'm a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu. He goes, stop. Are you a fucking black belt? And there's like this big pause. He's like, bro, you're a fucking liar. You're a liar. So Eddie separated himself from the guy.
Rumors began to circulate that Rafiel was a fake, so to prove his detractors wrong, he decided to partake in an actual MMA fight with a former student of his named Ioka Big Joe Tiano in the MMA promotion King of the Cage. After a brief exchange on the feet, Torre tapped his student with the knee bar within 2 minutes of the first round. The fight was widely speculated to be staged due to the very little resistance Tiano showed to anything that Torre tried to do, especially the submission that ended the match, which didn't even seem to be fully locked in before it prompted the tap. This was the final nail in the coffin of Torre's credibility. Soon after the event, it came out that he paid off Tiano and that he was not a black belt or a Navy SEAL, or half Brazilian, and Rafiel Torre wasn't even his real name. It was Ralph Bartel.
Yeah. This is how full of shit this guy was. This guy had a friend drop him off in the woods because he said he was going to a Kumite karate contest, like a big karate competition, but it was no rules and it was secretive. So he dropped him off in the woods.
Where was this guy from?
I don't know, but he lived in California for a while.
Okay.
He dropped him off in the woods with a duffel bag.
Yeah.
He gave him a duffel bag. Like, he had a duffel bag with him, rather. And it's like a duffel bag that's just big enough to fit a trophy in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like about this big. So he leaves, goes out into the woods. The guy comes back the next day. He's got a trophy. No duffel bag. So he brought a f***ing trophy with him. And then he came out of the woods like, yeah, I won. I f***ed everybody up. And like, so he thought this guy would tell everybody that he beat everybody in this karate tournament.
Shortly after, he vanished from the MMA scene altogether. But that was obviously and very unfortunately not the end of the story. He met a woman by the name of Angelina Richards, and the two ended up falling in love. Problem was, Angelina was already married to a man named Brian Richards. Together, they decided to hire a hitman to murder Brian, both to be together and for the life insurance money that Angelina would receive. Ralph approached Gerald Strebend, an ex-Marine and MMA fighter, with a $10,000 offer to be the triggerman. Gerald ultimately refused, but this might have not been that bad of an idea on Ralph's part due to what Strebend ended up doing later on in life. That probably deserves its own video, so let me know if you want to hear about that story in the comments. After being rebuffed, Ralph decided to carry out the act himself. He allegedly snuck up behind Richards and applied a rear naked choke until he was no longer showing signs of life. A few days later, he asked Gerald Strebend to provide him with an alibi, claiming that he choked Richards in self-defense after he became violent due to discovering the affair between Ralph and his wife. Strebend refused and ended up sitting on the knowledge for a year before finally going to the police.
It was weird because I got semi-involved in it, in that the guy who wound up ratting him out to the cops was one of Eddie's students. And I was talking to the guy on the phone about it. I was like, what's going on with that guy? And then the cops called me afterwards and said, hey, we were tapping that guy's phone. We want to know what you know. And
Whoa.
I was like, whoa, I'm on the set of Fear Factor. I'm in my trailer.
Jesus.
Yeah, putting my microphone on. I'm like, huh?
And you were in a murder case all of a sudden.
I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know that guy. I go, this is what I know. He's a fake black belt. I told him the whole deal. And I had heard that he killed somebody.
And with the help of Strebend's testimony, Ralph, who had by that time legally changed his name to Rafiel Torre, was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison, where he remains to this very day. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any thoughts of your own regarding the story, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. And if you have some suggestions for what you want me to cover next specifically, just leave them. I'm very open to them. Very single, very available to suggestions. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you very soon.